Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today on a nice Sunday. I am driving home from work. Got the Lions going up against the Cowboys on Fox on TV. Honestly, I think I might watch a movie when I get home and get ready for Sunday Night Football. But driving home from work after Wrestle Dream last night with Bryan Danielson losing his last match. There's not a lot of news to be found out there when it comes to wrestling. It looks like this is going to be a big week as we inch closer towards Royal Rumble, the Wrestlemania season. Of course, you got the big War Games, but we'll have to see. They got to do a lot of things to get ready for the upcoming November show, which is Crown Jewel over in Saudi Arabia. Looking forward to a good Raw tomorrow. But coming off of Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, Bruce was talking about Jim Cornette and him not being in the WWE Wrestlemania Hall of Fame, whatever you want to call it. And I kind of was really surprised. I know that Demolition, one of my favorite tag teams of all time, is not in there, and some people think they know the reason is because of that lawsuit, but that thing has been dropped for long enough. I'd be really surprised if Demolition is not one of the people that would be in there. Jesse Ventura did the interview a little while ago with Chris Van Vliet, and he said that he was not in the WrestleMania Hall of Fame, and it turns out that he was. So I guess he just doesn't remember going into it. Not quite sure about that one, but Jim Cornette, I know that he is very outspoken. He has his podcast. I know that he has a lot of followers. Sometimes it seems that he says things just to say them. If you go back to 2017, when Jim Cornette came back to the WWE for WrestleMania weekend, he inducted the Midnight Express into the Hall of Fame. That was WrestleMania 33 weekend. I remember thinking that I was really surprised that they were going to give Cornette a microphone to be out there. He's very outspoken about the company, the way they treated him, the way that they were running their company at the time. I don't listen to the Cornette podcast. There was a time when I did listen to it, and I did like it, and it just fell out of my list of podcasts that I listen to. So a lot of the times I only know what Cornette's saying when it hits the headlines, and the clips come out, and I sort of hear things that way. But I really haven't heard anything about Cornette and WWE, so I don't know if since Vince is gone, he's kind of changed his tone, and is kind of like pro WWE at the time. It's hard for him to be almost pro anything. If it's not NWA style of wrestling, it's just not for him in my mind sometimes, which sort of surprises me, because I understand he doesn't like the acrobatics of AEW, but AEW, a lot of their main event storylines seems like they're pulled right from the NWA. I think that it makes more sense that he would kind of like that thing. But let's just scrap everything of him being a controversial podcaster that is out there. When it comes to the world of wrestling, Jim Cornette, I believe, is in the top 3 wrestling managers of all time. He's definitely the best one from the NWA era. I think you would put him up there with Bobby Heenan and Paul Heyman. I believe that is the top 3 there is out there in wrestling. I know there's a lot of guys, out there, Jimmy Hart, that had really long, careers. But it really comes down to changing wrestling. I think that Jim Cornette's career was right up there, that he deserves to be in there. I have seen a lot of his stuff from the NWA. I've missed more than there is. I found out who Cornette was when he came to the WWF, and he was managing Yokozuna. He came in there to help Mr. Fuji, and then of course he built Camp Cornette after the main event run of Yokozuna fell off, where he was managing the British Bulldog and Owen Hart. I think he had Vader for a good hot minute, and although that era of wrestling doesn't live on to be the greatest era of wrestling, when I was watching it as a kid, he always had a main event stable that seems like they could put anybody out there to go after the tag titles, anybody out there in your house to go after a main event babyface and have a chance to go out there and take the titles off of somebody. I think that he's one of the best guys out there, especially as I get older and find out about the business. All the stories from listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, talking about Cornette being on the booking team, as the booking team really wasn't as big as it was. It just kind of was Vince, Cornette, Bruce Pritchard, traveling up and down the roads, booking what was going on at the time. I don't really understand it. And I know that TNA doesn't have anything to do with WWE. I'll tell you this much. When Cornette was like the on-screen commissioner, I thought TNA had a really damn good show. And then when they kind of let Cornette go, because of the fact, I think it was right about the time they brought Mick Foley in, and Mick Foley first came in as the new commissioner of TNA, and then he sort of started turning into just a regular wrestler, and they didn't have a commissioner anymore. That is kind of like when the rules went out the window. It's like, they were heels, the heels cheated, but when Cornette was in charge on that show, there was law and order. There was consequences for, cheating. If a heel cheated and won the championship cheating, he's like, I'm not going to strip you of the belt, but you're going to have a rematch against this guy. There was kind of like a due diligence. And then kind of like when Cornette was gone, and then Foley stopped being the commissioner, and there was no commissioner for the longest time, and then, Bischoff and Hogan came in, and like they had the heel commissioner that we've seen hopefully put to death in 2024 these days. It just didn't have the same appeal, didn't have the same effect. I was still watching it. I think I ended up watching TNA roughly, was that 2014? When Hogan left, Bischoff left, definitely when AJ left. And I watched for a little bit, and then when I realized that AJ really wasn't coming back, that was kind of when I bailed on it. But Cornette was a damn good commissioner, even for TNA. He did a ton in the wrestling business. He's done tons that we'll probably never even know about. The best bump he ever took was on that scaffold match, where it was his team going up against the Road Warriors, and he was hanging on for dear life. The big boss man at the time, Big Bubba Rogers, was down below. He was supposed to catch him. Cornette fell. He just, fell feet first, just fall straight from the scaffold. He went right through the boss man's arms. He didn't catch him. And when his feet hit the mat, he just shattered both of his legs. Devastating. Probably one of the worst bumps that there is out there, other than that Vic Grimes bump when New Jack just straight tried to kill him in XPW by throwing him off the top of the scaffold, and he kind of hit the tables, but he didn't hit the tables in a way to like stop his fall and actually take a bump. It's like he was just trying to kill a man out there. But that's it. I know that the Bruce Pritchard is putting his fist to the table, and I guess the idea is up to Triple H, and I don't know. It seems like there's kind of always like a main eventer, a mid-carder, a woman, a manager, a tag team. If Cornette's not the guy this year, I don't know what they're doing. There's not anything they could do to really make me want to go to the Hall of Fame. I think going to WrestleMania, especially with it being after SmackDown, there's so much other things to go, go out and do. I was lucky enough to see Edge as well as Shawn Michaels going to the Hall of Fame, and that was special. But then, kind of when we learned that the High Spots wrestling show, featured a lot of people that we didn't get a chance to see live any other place. And it was a mix of like different companies and legends besides for WWE or NXT. That kind of took over, going the show to go to on I believe it was Saturday night at the time. So hopefully Cornette's the guy. We'll see. Peace out.